Hi, so today I wanted to share my tips with you on my advice for preparing yourself for a telephone interview. In many graduate schemes, a telephone interview is often part of the process. The first part is normally an online application and then a telephone interview, and then if you pass that, then you get to an assessment centre. So I just wanted to share some tips with you that I've learned over some telephone interviews that I have done. These tips are just from my own experience. I'm not saying they're definitely going to make you pass through a telephone interview. I'm just going to break it down between preparing for the interview, what you should do just before you do the interview, and then during the interview as well. For preparing for the interview, my top tips are: make sure that you research the company in lots of detail. So this isn't just about what do they do, what do they produce. This is about what are the main challenges that they are currently facing and perhaps the industry is facing as well as what its strategy and its main vision is. What are its strengths? What teams are there? For example, when I had an interview for a summer internship for British Gas, I wanted to be in the marketing internship, so I researched all the different marketing teams that were in British Gas. Are there any other activities they do on the side? So are there any corporate social responsibility activities? What are they and what do they do? I think it's really good if you can use some of these reasons or examples of what they're doing and link that to why you want to work there. Are they facing a major challenge that you really want to help with, or you've got really some burning ideas you'd want to share with them on how to tackle that issue? Now, my next tip is, normally if it's a large graduate scheme, then on their graduate web pages they will normally have a set of leadership behaviours. These are like core values that they are looking for within all of their graduates. These are skills such as teamwork, communication, leadership, and these are all the skills that they're trying to find in their graduates. And they're sometimes called different things, but essentially they're all the same. And so what I would do is I would try to find examples from my university life or from my extracurricular activities and try to find examples of where I can show my teamwork skills, my leadership skills, and write these down as well so that I could have them in front of me when I do my telephone interview. Now, just before the interview, some of the things that I like to do is to actually put on some smart clothes as if I was actually going for a face-to-face interview. I find that I perform a lot better if I'm in smarter clothes because I have a different frame of mind. It just makes me a lot more focused in what I'm saying. My second tip is to, wherever you're going to have your telephone interview, make sure the table that you're going to be sitting at is absolutely clear of anything that you don't need, but make sure the things that you do have on the table are the bits of paper, if you want them, of some of the key points that you're going to be talking about, and then also a glass of water just in case you get a dry throat throughout your interview. And finally, it's sort of an obvious point, but do make sure that everyone else in the house does know that you'll be having a telephone interview so they do not disturb you. Also, make sure you have enough battery on your phone that you're going to be using for the interview as well. That's the last thing you want, is for your phone to die. So during the interview, I would always try to smile. When you smile and talk at the same time, it sounds a lot happier and a lot more upbeat, and this will work really well. Because it's on the phone, it's kind of hard to get across your passion and your emotion and like your natural bubbliness that you would be able to if it was a face-to-face interview. So by smiling, it will help that a little bit more. Secondly, before I answer any question that they ask me, I always take a few seconds just to breathe and just digest the question, essentially. This gives you some time to think about your answer, and it will stop you from blurting out some rambly answer that probably isn't really answering the question. It also gives you a chance to just have a glance at the bits of paper in front of you to get a clear idea of what the top three points are that you want to talk about in detail. But overall, it'll make your points a lot more concise and in a lot more detail as well. I've sort of touched on this before, but when I answer a question that might be something like, why did you want to join this scheme, then I would always try to think of 3 key points of why that is. Obviously everyone knows that you have a lot more impact if you list 3 points compared to 5 or just 1. It'll be a lot easier for the other person on the other end of the phone to digest what you're saying and to really hone it in. Finally, I found when I'm asked a question, I will start talking and I will then instantly forget what I was asked. So now what I've started to do is when they ask me, I quickly jot down the key points just in front of me of what they're asking, so that if I do sort of lose track a little bit, I can always go back to my bit of paper, see what the question was, and sort of try and get my answer back on track. This is probably quite a good thing to do because it avoids you going off the plot and not answering the question at all. And don't forget, you can always ask them to repeat the question if you didn't hear it. They'd much rather you do that than just make up an answer to some other question that they didn't even ask. Those are my tips for a telephone interview. I really hope it was helpful. If there's anything else that you would like to know about application forms for graduate roles or internships even, then leave a comment below and I will try do something on that. Okay, bye!